bollocks, but I thought we'd go for thinking out loud.
Yeah, we'll talk about what exactly that means. I'm still unfamiliar with the exact definition of that.
Bollocks.
Yes, yes. It's one of those words that you can interchange a lot, though. I understand. It could, you could be talking bollocks. You could say what
Yeah.
you just said is bollocks. There's a lot of ways to use it. So I appreciate
It's a
that.
very, very flexible word. For example, if you're trying to pay for something with a big note in a taxi or something like that, the taxi driver says, "Oh, mate, sorry, can't do that. I'm bollocksed for change."
Ah, okay. I haven't heard that one yet. See, I figure if I can master bullocks and cheeky, and I've got the entire proper English vernacular down.
Yeah, exactly. A cheeky half. Oh, let's go for a cheeky half when you talk about like a half pint. It's just like it's so difficult to explain. I know you asked and I tried to.
No, and in fact, I Googled sometimes too, and it seemed to be all over the place,
Yeah.
in terms of usage. But I don't know if you guys have a version of Urban Dictionary over there, but I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
If you ever want a good laugh, just go start looking up words on there because it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm a big fan of words.
Yeah, I am too. It's funny. Brian and I had a conversation the other day. We were talking about because I wanted to know because words and thoughts are so intertwined. It's like the words are the thought forms of the actual thoughts themselves. And so, from his neuroscience perspective, I was trying to pick his brain. I was like, tell me a little bit about. And they're so incredibly intertwined that you can't really think without words. Now, I think you can think in pictures, but even those pictures are forming words, and so. It's a really fascinating interplay between our language. I think it's much more powerful than most people give it credit right off the bat.
Well, it's quite interesting because I think you're spot on with that. And actually, our buddy Buckminster Fuller says that basic words were the first technology.
Wow, I like it. It's absolutely true because if let's say let's just put ourselves back in the caveman or whatever. If I can communicate to you how I created fire,
Mm.
that's absolutely an incredible piece of technology to be able to convey that kind of information. And
Mm.
it's also something that obviously separates us from a lot of the animals who are a lot of their thought is unconscious. I mean, it's obvious they communicate, especially like some of the higher up on the scale, like dolphins and stuff like that, and whales. They have really complex languages, but nothing like us, man. They broke the mold when they made us.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like the technology of the metaphysics, isn't it? Really, the words, because
It
that's
is.
what gives the ideas substance and currency, isn't it? Currency of the metaphysics. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I want you to talk a little bit about more at one time. Talk about your philosophy of origin of money and some of that. That's really interesting. And to follow up what you just said, the concept of the word is constant through the Bible. One of I think the first line of the Bible is in the beginning there was God, and He spoke the word or something like that. And
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God.
yeah, absolutely. And so what the word is are thoughts.
Well, that's
So
why that's why it's the thought universe.
yeah, that's why we live in a thought universe, and in fact, that's why how we know that our consciousness proves that life is conscious, or I like to call him God, or my boy.
Here we go. So there's a few different interpretations of it. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Right, right. And Jesus talks about the word a lot too. It's constantly, and it's funny because I was raised in church, and I've been fascinated by the Bible again because it's what I'm familiar with. Because I grew up in church and learned about the Bible, but never really. You just learn the stories and that kind of stuff, but no one ever explains to you what it really means. And that the concept of the word, I never understood what that was. I was like, okay, there's word. It was never really explained, but I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's also in the beginning the Word already existed. The Word
Mm.
was with God, and the Word was God. So yeah, some good shit about the Word for sure.
Word.
Word. Coming back, it's coming back. So let's why don't you talk a little bit about because it's really nice. I started sowing the seeds in the group for
Yeah,
the discussion yesterday only. It was only yesterday, wasn't it? Only yesterday the idea was downloaded.
yeah, it was literally
Yesterday
yesterday,
morning.
and it's always great when I wake up first thing in the morning and I've got a lot of texts from you,
Yeah,
from WhatsApp, because then I know like the wheels were cooking, and those were particularly, there was like 15 little voice messages,
yeah.
and so that instantly gives me a clue. You're either driving or you're just so damn excited that you can't really type fast enough,
Or
um,
both.
or both, which is
Yeah,
common,
yeah,
happens that way. But you know, obviously, the 13 by 4 app we've been kicking around basically since we met, and I think it's really interesting that there's constantly been something that's been telling our intuition, you know, not quite yet, not quite yet. You know, wait a minute. Well, you know, we were actually planned to have that out a long time ago, at the end of the first cycle of reasonable eating.
yeah. We had
So
planned to have it
March
out
or
in
something
April,
like
didn't
that.
we?
And so it was like, well, and actually that's when March Madness happened, and you started going over the WhatsApp chat groups, and then it was just like, whoa, like what's going on? But it was, in any case, it's one of those things that you know, the vision's been there for a very long time. It's not really, it's changed a little bit, but it's really not changed much from giving people the opportunity. You know, what you and I were talking about was creating a 13 by 4 chariot, is like what I like to call it, because a chariot carries things around. And so the 13 by 4 would be the base system, which would provide the AI, which would give you the interruptions during your day to talk about your script, but also be like Tom in the pocket, of the little, like a loving girlfriend or dog that would just peacefully cajole you towards your focus point, or whatever the focus point for the week was, and then have that 13 by 4 chariot be able to kind of plug in any 13 by 4. And that, I think that was one of the real awesome breakthroughs, because it wasn't just about creating a reasonable eating app or
Yeah,
creating a reasonable wealth app. It was about creating the app of apps that could really be the app store of awesomeness. And then of course we got into, well, man, how cool would it be to give the architects or anybody interested in making money off this stuff, off of the 13 by 4 implementation system, the ability to release their own apps through our kind of little mini app store within the app store. And so, you
yeah,
know, imagine going on your 13 by 4 app. Maybe it comes preloaded with a Tom Cassidy course for free, just because, you know, that guy's awesome. And you
yeah.
go to the in-app purchases, and it's like, well, here, choose from all of these stuff. And you know, where I saw that aspect of it really becoming big time was, man, being in the technical field, I have spent almost as much money that I've spent on personal development materials, on training materials for like programming, you know, making games, all this stuff. I mean, just there's so much of it out there. And then of course there's all these people out there in the tech industry who make this, they produce this content. You know, how cool would it be to have, you know, a 13 by 4 for, say, web development, where someone in a course of a year, they could just master web development, or you know, but piano playing, guitar playing. Maybe somebody wants to teach somebody how to play the piano.
Mm.
You know, what would that look like in the context of
Learning
a,
languages, like I've
yeah,
done.
learning
I've
languages.
already
So
done.
I think that was some of the real exciting stuff. And then, you know, we really started getting into what does that look like from the user's experience? Can they do multiple 13 by 4s? And it may not be great, but then again, who are we to say you can't do more than 13 by, you know, more than one or two 13 by 4s? Because personally, we have a couple different ones going on. I know I'm in the middle of 2 right now myself, so it's not overwhelming. And so maybe they can plug in multiple 13 by 4s, and then so, you know, I think we even got to the wireframe point where we had traded across some wireframes, and of course the WhatsApp experience really just kind of opened our eyes to how awesome that just cool little chat feature was. The ability to do voice notes, so key, and the ability to like take pictures and all that stuff. And actually, on my WhatsApp chat, I have a chat with myself, and so I have this just stream going of, it's just from me to you. And so sometimes, you know, that crazy stuff that I don't quite let out there because people will think I'm a weirdo, I just put it to myself, or I do voice notes to myself all the time. And so how cool would it be to have that kind of experience in your pocket? So we had already worked all that. Oh, you got an idea? Go.
Well, have you got the ability to screen share the wireframe?
Yeah. Let me check.
That might be quite cool just to show people what you're talking about and sort of.
Here, entertain the folks for a little bit
Okay,
while I
sure.
figure this out.
Um, no, I thought that might be quite good because what you could show people is kind of just a little bit about what you meant about the day view and the journaling and the wheel view, and I thought that would be quite nice because then you're going to talk to them about the idea of maybe if they have got multiple 13 by 4s, then they could have like a cube sort of view which spins around. If you haven't, don't worry about it. We can just
No,
post
man, I got it right here.
have it. Okay, so you can screen share, right?
Yeah. Let me just bring this up.
Make, make sure you close all the other dodgy stuff that you've got.
Yeah, I definitely have to watch out for that robot
Pictures of
porn
your
that
dog.
I really like. Yeah, it's great, man. My folks are here passing through town, and it's just so cool to see them with Hilson.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let me go back here. All right, where'd you go? There you are. All right,
Yeah.
so
Left-hand side screen share.
capture effects, YouTube. Oh yeah. So you tell me what you see.
Yep, I can see it. You can
All right,
talk through it now.
all right. Hang on. Yeah. All right. So really, just basically two screens because we really are a big fan of simplicity.
Oh, yeah.
On the top left, what you see is the 13 by 4 view. So after you've already entered the app, you've already gone through the process of choosing which 13 by 4s you want to use and all that stuff. And then, can you see my mouse by any chance?
Yeah, we can.
Nice. So this is the wheel view, and of course everyone's going to recognize this as the 13 by 4. And again, guys, this is sans any design. This is just neutral X-ray vision into an app. So it's not meant to look pretty yet. But I do like the simplicity of it. So imagine you've got your 13 by 4. Here's all your 13 areas and your main focus point. And so, like when Tom does his weekly broadcasts, what he's basically doing is giving you all of the information for a specific focus point. And that information could be in the form of a video, a weekly broadcast. It could be text. It could be PDFs. It could be whatever. So if you were to let's say we're in week 5 right here. If I wanted any more information on any of the focus points, I'd tap there, and then I would be able to zoom into kind of the content view. So here you have, it could say let's say the focus point is like this week's, it's gratitude. So gratitude, maybe right there's a little video from Tom saying, hey, I'm just introducing the concept and some reading and information like that. And that would be helpful because a lot of times it can be beneficial to have someone explain to you some of the different stuff. So that's the 13 by 4 view. And the only other view really, and again, this is pretty heavily inspired by WhatsApp, but I did think of this before. Maybe call me a liar, but I did. Just of having a chat with yourself. And so, of course, to finish up this screen, if you click on settings, you would go to the settings, and this is really cool because you would control the intensity of how much the artificial intelligence is bugging you. For example, if you wanted to be pinged once an hour, you'd be able to set that intensity. Or if you wanted to be pinged, once a day, you could set that intensity and basically just customize it to your own preference. Because some people, I'd imagine there's some people who have left the WhatsApp experience just because there's just too much activity, and yet there's some people that there's so much activity, it's already providing this kind of level of awareness booster. Because I know that does it for me. Every time my phone buzzes, it reminds me that there's some aware awesomeness going on out there. So, anyways, the day view.
Yeah.
Well, so let's just say it's a Tuesday, you would jump in here and be able to, let's say, and again, from the whole concept of the 13 by 4 app was to have Tom in your pocket. And so imagine throughout the day, Tom texts you. Now it's not really Tom; it's the AI. It's stuff that has come preloaded with that content calendar. And if let's say Mark was doing his own 13 by 4, he would produce content ahead of time that would go here. So it would be like, maybe here's like a little minute, like, hey buddy, just wanted to say, keep doing what you're doing, or whatever. And then I can type myself messages. I can leave myself voice notes. Of course, I can take pictures, and of course, anybody who's in the WhatsApp groups will recognize this form factor because it's the exact same. A button to control the audio, a button to add more media, and the only difference, the improvement that we wanted to make on, was the typing experience, because it becomes cumbersome to type long form texts.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's almost the thing, like if I want to do a text bomb in WhatsApp, I'll type it up in my email it to myself, and then copy and paste, and it's just like boom, one of those giant free flowing of consciousness. So when you tap on the text bar, it brings up. I don't know if you guys have ever used an app called IA Writer. It's for the Mac desktop as well, but it's just a lovely writing experience.
Beautiful.
It's straight up bare bones, and it has a special keyboard. This is not the special keyboard. This is just a wireframe basis, but it basically, all the stuff that's a pain in the butt to do with the normal keyboard, like move to the end of the sentence, jump to a certain area. Even it has little macros where it'll type out certain words. But imagine like a really handy keyboard here, and so you would just rock out. And even if you're typing a sentence, or if you're typing an entire chapter of one of your books, it would be a pleasurable experience. And then when you send it, bam, it just appears over here in your little chat window, and you just keep going. And so that's kind of the day view. So
how did you get to that day view, Sam?
So great point. So in the middle of the 13 by 4 is that wheel's focus point. Let's say this focus point is reasonable wealth. That would be the main access point to the day view. So they're really the only two buttons up here. And again, I see this thing being kind of cool, kind of changing, especially down here. Guys, you know how you can set your own background for your WhatsApp wallpaper? I would see this being an opportunity to really do some cool effects, because imagine having slight animations back there. Imagine, so a parallax effect is kind of a 3D effect. Like when this bubble, when you're moving the screen, the background moves slower than the foreground, and that mimics reality. And it gives what it does is it creates a lot of depth in the experience. So imagine having a really cool background right back here, and imagine maybe even the background changes every week, or it's just totally random. Maybe one day you jump in here and this background is like the universe, and there's like little freaking comets and stuff going by. Nothing crazy, nothing distracting, but I love adding those little elements of just kind of a really encapsulating experience, because
the unexpected, delivering people the unexpected. It keeps them in.
Yeah.
Like Google does, every so often they've got a different way of writing the Google logo on the homepage, and that's
it's just a little way to kind of gamify it and kind of give it a little bit of that's cool. So
I'm on a 4% actually. So you can wrap up this one. Just finish off about the day view and how you get to that, and then we might have to leave this as part 1.
Fantastic. Yeah, for those that don't know, Tom is he's sans power cord. So anyways, you tap in the very middle, you go to day view, and then you can go back to the 13 by 4 wheel. 13 by 4 wheel, this is the storehouse for all of the content that the 13 by 4 wheel has. So each focus point has its own content specific to it. And that's kind of that aspect of it. So
and so with the corporate version, let's skip to that bit as well. So if you were doing more than one 13 by 4 at the time, because maybe you are doing a corporate one, and maybe you're doing a health one, and maybe you're even doing a financial one as well. So I know a lot of people at the moment are doing wealth and eating, so they're doing 2. How would that work with the wheels?
Yeah, and we kind of been playing around with the different kind of form factor, but a way to transition right from this screen to another wheel. And we were brainstorming and just kind of thinking of a really neat organic way to be able to go from this wheel to another one. Imagine this whole screen even kind of flipping over to the other side, and there's on that other side there's a wheel.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a good job of explaining that. It would be better to show like a little animation of that. But
Yeah.
wow,
I
that's
kind of know what you mean. You could have some sort of transition which made it look sort of maybe it zoomed out and then flipped and then zoomed back in,
oh
or
snap! Check that out. Oh,
that's
sorry.
cool.
I don't know if you can see that, but there's a recursion thing going on somehow. I have totally broken the matrix. But yeah, so the business version, that's what I want to chat with you about, because that was the download that basically exploded my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're not going to have time to do that on this, unfortunately,
Fair
because
enough.
because I'm down to 2%.
All
So
right.
what we'll do is we will leave this as part one. So we've just shown people a little bit about the app and got them excited. Essentially, the quick nutshelling of the corporate idea is that you're a guy that wants to go up to a company because you've got a contact with them, and you say, listen, I could do some cool stuff for you. I can come in, I can do a workshop for you. At the end of the workshop, you will leave, all your people will leave on their phones with a personalized company 13 by 4 base characteristics that you want your people to develop so that you can hit your company's mission statement or your goals. What would you want people to get better at in the next 12 months in order for you to hit all your company goals? Well, we want them to be better listeners, we want them to be more collaborative, we want them to be more independent, we want them to be more like geniuses, come up with greater ideas, all that sort of stuff. Great, fantastic. Well, let's brainstorm those things in a workshop, create the 13 things that are most important, and you'll have to go through a proving system. The whole workshop will be, okay, you've got to prove why this characteristic will be part of your vision for your company. And then if overall they think, yeah, okay, this is great, bingo, it's in. And then the end of the workshop, which wouldn't take really very long, you do another few things about the sausage machine and the script and some of the other algorithms and talk about marginal gains and that probably in the morning. The afternoon you develop the 13 before. People walk away and companies will pay a seat license per user an amount for the year and for however many employees they've got. And we're just super excited about that. Sam, do you want to just quickly? I'm on 1% now, so I'm going to probably just. Any last words?
No, but just thank you for staying up late, and let's definitely get more into this, because I can tell you how this could have radically changed my organization overnight, because they're dying for some sort of guide to become that. Everything else is really not, like Salesforce and all that stuff is really not effective at that.
Okay, I'm stopping it now so we don't end up crashing or anything, and it's